Hi everybody, Dan Illman and Matt Bernier. The DRF bets race of the day for Saturday, January the 5th is the Grade 3 Sham Stakes. Kentucky Derby points on the line for these 3-year-olds going 1 mile at the Great Race Place. You can bet this nice Santa Anita card. The Sham, one of 2 graded stakes races on the Saturday afternoon at Santa Anita. With a new DRF Bets account, sign up at bets.drf.com, receive a 300% deposit match. Let's take a look at the field for this year's Sham. You can access free formulator past performances on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Download them and handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order. Bob Baffert has 2, Peter Miller has 2, Keith DeZormo has 2 horses in this field, including the number 1 Sweno, who brings a 2-race win streak to the party. Now, this horse is a reformed maiden claimer. What happened last time out? Was it simply the situation that he loved the synthetic track, or did he just love the distance?
Well, I think it could be a combination of things. Also incorporating the fact that he probably faced a relatively weak group, considering it was a stakes race. I think it's one of those instances where you look at it and say, just a perfect storm. Everything kind of came together for this horse. I think he's decent. I don't think he's quite of the caliber of some of the other runners in this spot. And to be frank, down on the inside, I think that's going to be beneficial for him going 1 mile at Santa Anita, short run into the first turn. But I'd be very, very surprised if when the real running begins, this horse is around.
But he did win on dirt 2 starts back at a $50 mutual and an $80,000 maiden claimer at Del Mar. Bob Baffert trained his dam. She was a multiple stakes winner going long on the dirt, so maybe that's what Sweno wants. Sweno should get a fast pace to run at. And again, we've noticed that the DeZormo horses, they seem to get better from start to start with a little bit of maturity. Maybe Sweno down the road. This looks like a tough spot. The 2 is Gray Magician, in similar situation with Sweno. I think this horse really appreciated stretching out last time out. Just consider, this horse was 3-1 against Improbable 2 starts back when trained by Hector Palma. After finishing 3rd that day, private purchase to the Peter Miller barn, and this full brother Lambo found a field he could beat, and he did it really nicely.
Yeah, I was going to say visually I was really impressed. I thought he extended, leveled off really well, galloped out very well. I just think there's a number of things going in a positive direction for a horse like this. You know, first time against winners is never an easy thing, but you got a number of horses that are going to be taking on winners for the first time in here. 2 turns isn't an issue for him. I also like the fact that he can sit a little bit where some of the other main contenders in here, they need to prove. Can they do that, or are they more kind of dependent on being out there dictating things on the front end? I would imagine this horse comes from a little bit farther off of it like he did in that most recent run. If you think he can bring that form over to Santa Anita, he needs to improve from a speed figure standpoint slightly, but he's right there.
I agree with you about his tactical speed. I can see him outfooting Sweno to the inside, tucking in behind the speeds. And the Timeform US pace projector has this pace as fast, and his uncoupled stablemate Gray Magicians, the number 3 Savagery, is expected to make the lead. And that could be key, because the odds-on favorite in this race, Coliseum, won his career debut in gate-to-wire fashion. The 5 Coliseum is sitting in 3rd here. We'll get to how that might work for or against Coliseum in a bit. As for Savagery, from a Timeform US speed figure standpoint, his last 3 figs are 107, 106, 106, and he's getting the blinkers back on after blowing the first turn in the Los Alpiturity.
To be honest with you, that's part of my concern with a horse like this. I understand he's got big speed and the blinkers are going on, hopefully to sharpen him up a little bit or get him to focus. But, you know, look, he totally blew the first turn in that race, going 2 turns at Los Al. And I think if you're anyone drawn to the outside, you've got to be at least a little bit concerned going into that first turn until he does take it a little bit better. I don't doubt the talent with this horse. I think he's ultimately better suited on grass and probably shorter. But I understand at this point he hasn't done a heck of a lot wrong. You want to continue on this road for as long as you can. I think ultimately you'll see him on the grass.
Like you, I'm worried about the distance, Matt. This dam was a sprint winner. She's a half to Abundanza, who was a multiple stakes winning sprinter on the Mid-Atlantic circuit. I agree with you that Savagery's got a good amount of ability. I think he's going to make the front in here, maybe push the favorite Coliseum a bit, but the distance concerning. The 4 is Easy Shot. This horse also trained by Keith DeZormo, like the 1 Sweno, won for the $80,000 tag last time out. It's a big step up in class, but this horse has been improving slightly with each and every start.
Yeah, he certainly has. Never been double-digit odds in his lifetime until he will be on Saturday. Again, this is the kind of horse that I don't want to totally throw cold water on a horse that's going to be 30-1. I just look at it and say from a figure standpoint and from a class standpoint, this horse has so much going against him on Saturday. He's one. Look, if he runs well on Saturday, I'll be impressed and think maybe next time out. But on Saturday, I'm going to pass.
And the big name in this race is the number 5 Coliseum. You see it, even money on the morning line. Joe Talamo takes them out. Beautiful pedigree. Son of all-world stallion Tappet, the dam a Grade 1 stakes winner sprinting on the dirt. This horse was no surprise in his debut, bet down to 1-2, and he ran the rest of the field off of his feet. And while he has to stretch out and start number 2 around 2 turns, he only has to stretch out a furlong, and that might help Coliseum. But does that pace projector that we saw earlier worry you that Coliseum might have to rate?
I think he's going to have to, because to be honest with you, you look at Timeform US, the way they looked at that maiden score, the internal fractions were all blue, and he was just kind of out there winging it on the front end. And as impressive as he was visually, he was supposed to be impressive that day. I would have been surprised had he not gone off and won as nicely as he did. I will say the gallop out was about as impressive as you'll see, where Talamo couldn't get him to pull up basically all the way onto the backside. Look, I expect him to run well. I'm at the point now where I've said it before. Until Baffert stops winning with these 2-year-olds, I'm just going to assume they're all going to run well. Maybe call that bad handicap and call it what you will. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I expect him to run well, but I do think he's going to need to show a new dynamic and a new dimension here on Saturday if he's going to win.
In typical Baffert fashion, the horse has been working brilliantly. 4 bullet workouts since his most recent start leading up to this. The 6 is Gunmetal Gray, and many handicappers believe that if the favorite stubs his toe, the one that's going to capitalize is Gunmetal Gray, especially if the pace is fast. We saw him finish a game second behind game winner in the Grade 1 American Pharaoh 2 starts back after bobbling a bit coming out of the gate. And I don't think his Breeders' Cup Juvenile was that bad. He was just so far back early. He passed some tired horses late. The Juvenile's already produced a couple of next out winners. Gunmetal Gray, we know, is not going to have any problem with this distance. He might be the best closer.
I was going to say, I'm very torn on this horse. I don't know which way I want to go on him, because when he debuted in his second lifetime start, I liked everything I had seen. And even in that American Pharaoh, for a moment, I thought, wow, we actually might have a challenge here. And you're right, he finished second and he stayed on, but he got flicked away pretty easily. And I know Game Winner is a really, really talented horse, but you hear some people talk about Game Winner as opposed to the other Baffert horses. They say, yeah, he's nice, but he's not the head and shoulders leader in the clubhouse. He's going to be the 2-year-old champion, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's the most talented one that Baffert's got. There's just a part of me that thinks, although he's already run fast, I think he needs to run faster if he's going to win this race on Saturday. I think they'll be pleased if he comes with a nice run and he can get a piece of this thing, and maybe this is a stepping stone on something later on.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 3 Sham Stakes. You almost tricked the folks. You kind of were like a little wishy-washy on Coliseum, but then you said, Baffert, you went with the other Baffert. Good angle in Southern California. The 7 much better, won his career debut on dirt. It was a pretty live race, I thought. The 3rd place finisher came back to graduate at Los Al. And considering this pedigree, by Pioneer of the Nile, out of a dam that was a graded stakes winner on dirt, I found it utterly curious that this horse then campaigned on turf in his next 2 starts. He might be getting back to his best surface at a nice price on Saturday.
I don't have any real sort of knowledge one way or the other. I haven't seen anything as far as reports or what it may have been. But when I saw him win in his debut as nicely as he did, I don't think he was brilliant, but I thought he was nice and professional. And then they went to the turf with him, and he ran as well as he did in the grass in that Zuma Beach. And I'm not going to hold the Breeders' Cup Juvenile turf against him. Apparently, he got some turf kicked up in his eye. It was boggy. I'm not going to hold that against him. The only thing that I can kind of come to a conclusion of is Baffert didn't want to run all of them against one another, and you take a shot with a horse that maybe you think has some ability. I don't know. That's me just going out on a limb trying to find some reason why they moved to the grass with him. He's been working steadily recently. He's just the kind of horse where I don't think he's as talented maybe as a horse like Coliseum, but he's going to be a much better price. I think that outside draw is going to work to his advantage. He's already shown that he can sit a little bit and make a run. I'll take a shot with him at anything close to that 6-1 morning line.
6-1 again on the 7, much better. Gray Magician for me, I think, can tuck in and save ground in behind the speeds. I liked what he did first time for Peter Miller, earned a respectable 103 Timeform US pace adjusted rating to go along with that 80 buyer. We'll find out if Coliseum is the goods on Saturday in the Grade 3 Sham. I'm going 2-5-3-1. Give me numbers behind your top pick.
7-5-6-2.
Should be a fun edition of the Grade 3 Sham with Kentucky Derby points on the line. Get down with a new DRF Bets account and the 300% deposit match that goes along with it. Find out more at bets.drf.com. An approximate post time for race number 9, the Sham, 4:04 Pacific. Best of luck.